Roar!
Ew.
Hello and welcome to Midnight Readings. Today we'll be reading Parrot Politics, written by Coulthard. Coulthard? One of those. Hope you all enjoy! The Royal Zeppelin touched down outside the royal castle of the grand city of Saddle Arabia. A ramp came out and the Princess of the Night walked out to greet the delegates at the bottom. Luna had to shield her eyes as the harsh desert sun temporarily blinded her, and the desert winds made her mane blow more wildly. However, she didn't let the elements stop her from walking with precise steps down the ramp to greet the Saddle Arabian delegates who were waiting for her with gentle smiles. She was somewhat reluctant about doing a solo diplomatic trip to the jewel in the desert city that was Saddle Arabia. Her beloved sister had urged her about going on board with this trip, and Luna was unsure whether or not her diplomacy skills were up for the task. After some long, hard thinking, she reluctantly caved to her sister's wishes, and was soon on the Royal Zeppelin to the southern deserts. Luna bowed graciously at the two delegates of the Grand City, hoping that they would do what she expected them to do. Both delegates looked at each other with warm smiles, like the desert sun itself, and they too bowed back in respect. Luna mentally breathed a sigh of relief. Seems that this gesture had remained unchanged during her absence. The first member of Saddle Arabian delegates was a tall pink mare, and the other was a brown stallion. Both wore extravagant Arabian fabrics, which the city was renowned for. She remembered Princess Celestia mentioning them to her briefly when Celestia took them to Ponyville for a magical display performed by Twilight Sparkle. She also saw them in the royal booth, when the Equestria Games was hosted in the Crystal Empire. "Greetings, Princess Luna," the stallion welcomed her, "and welcome to Saddle Arabia." He paused to let the other delegate continue. "We have been expecting your arrival ever since your sister sent us the letter, telling us about your visit to our far-off land." Luna chuckled. Her sister had good foresight. She didn't want her arrival to be unexpected. "Please," Luna waved her hoof in dismissal, "the pleasure is all mine. And please call me Luna. It has been a long time since I have touched upon this fair land." "We may have seen each other before," the stallion smoothly continued, "but in case you have forgotten, I am Hyakam, and this is Amara." Hyakam pointed a hoof to the mare. Luna bowed her head to each one of them politely. "Now," Amara said, "let's escape the desert sun and enter the castle. I'm afraid we will burn ourselves in this heat." Luna agreed. Having a dark coat did not help in cooling down under the desert sun. "Please, lead the way," Luna smiled, and the three of them, accompanied by a dozen or so Saddle Arabian and Equestrian guards, entered the castle. Luna took the time to admire the Arabian architecture in all its splendor. The grand entrance hall displayed an atmosphere of opulence and majesticness. Geometric patterns in the tiles decorated the floor and ceiling. Ornate pillars supported the buildings, and paintings of desert critters and oases hung on every wall. "Is everything to your liking?" Amara asked with a kind smile. "It is truly a sight to behold," Luna complimented. "The castle took many years to construct," Hyakam cut in, "but I find it to be just as beautiful as it was when the final roof tile was put in place. If we have time, we can show you the gardens and fountains on display." "I would like that very much," Luna beamed, as the trio, along with the guards, continued down the corridor. Luna was greeted again by grand paintings, curtains of the finest Arabian silk and ornate pillars, until Amara and Hyakam welcomed her to her room for the next few days. "Welcome to the Castle Royal Suite." Hyakam opened the door. The Arabian and Equestrian guards were now spread out along the corridor, covering every corner. "You must have had a long journey," Amara said. "Please have some rest, and we'll start a tour and welcome party in your honor." "I'm looking forward to the events," Luna nodded. She walked into her room, and the grand double doors slowly closed behind her. She took her time to inspect her room in private. The royal suite definitely lived up to its name. Red Arabian silk curtains hung from the open windows, and the four-poster bed was just as grand, with the covers soft to the touch. The ensuite was just as luxurious as the rest of the room, and the bathroom tiles glistened as they caught the sun's harsh glare. There was also a balcony looking out onto the Arabian Guardians and beyond the castle's walls, towards the great city. Luna stepped out onto the balcony to gaze and admire her views. She closed her eyes and sighed. So far, so good. She didn't make a fool of herself yet. She didn't show it, but she was nervous about her first diplomatic trip without her sister, since her banishment. She sighed and turned to the castle, looking at the many towers that loomed above her. She was about to turn around and head back to her room when a feathered creature swooped down to greet her. The sound of claws against the wooden balcony caught Luna's ears, and she turned to the sound. There, standing on the balcony's edge, was a parrot. It had a beautiful blend of dark greens and turquoise and blue feathers that melted together, with yellow accents on its head and tail feathers. Its white belly puffed out proudly, and his head rotated from side to side as he inspected the stranger in front of him. Luna smiled and carefully stepped forward, towards the bird, so as not to frighten him. She bowed her head and looked up at the parrot. "Greetings, feathered friend," Luna greeted. "Are you from around these grounds?" The parrot gave a squawk in reply, but Luna was unsure if it was a positive or negative response. "Are you Amara's and Hakim's pet bird?" Again, the parrot gave a squawk. Luna wished she had Fluttershy's ability. She couldn't tell if the parrot's reply was yes or no. "Well, in any case," Luna smiled comfortably, like the gentle celestial body she controlled. "It's a pleasure to meet you. You may call me Luna." "Luna," the parrot squawked. Luna's smile widened. "Very good," Luna chuckled. "Now, if you excuse me, I have to prepare myself for a tour of the castle." She turned and headed back to the bedroom. It was when then that the parrot caught sight of Luna's cutie mark. "Meow," it answered, followed by a proud squawk. Luna stopped and looked at her cutie mark. "Very good, feathered friend," Luna smiled. "It is indeed a moon. I am the princess of the night and—" Flank! Luna was cut off and stared at the bird with a blush on her face. Her mouth hung loosely open at the bird's remark. "How rude!" Luna glared at the offending bird. "Yes, it is my flank, but you must not say that in the presence of royalty, or any pony in general. I am putting it kindly, but you—" Bat! This time Luna blush deepened and her jaw dropped to the tiled floor. "How uncouth!" Luna sputtered, but the offending parrot wasn't done yet. "Moon and bat! Moon bat!" The parrot was now hopping up and down on the balconies. Luna was afraid the whole castle grounds would have heard the parrot's remark. "No, no, no!" Luna marched towards the bird. "Please, call me Luna." "Luna moon bat! Luna moon bat!" The parrot repeated again and again and again, as it continued hopping up and down the balcony. Luna's eyes twitched in annoyance and irritation. This bird was causing her nothing but misery. She was glad that her beloved sister wasn't here to listen to this. She could go on for days about this mishap. Lighting up her horn in its signature blue aura, the bird was placed firmly on the balcony wall, with its beak clamped shut. "Who has taught you these foul words?" Luna glared at the problematic parrot, but sighed as she gained control of her irritation. "Let us try this again, shall we?" Luna said slowly, as she released the bird from her magical grasp and pointed to herself. "What is my name?" Luna asked slowly. "Luna," the parrot squawked his answer. "Good. Now what do you call this?" She pointed with a hoof to her moon cutie mark. "Moon." "Very good. Now what do we not say in public?" "Flank bat." "Progress. So what is my name?" Luna smiled. "Luna moon bat." And that was when the progress crashed and burned. Luna's hoof met her face briefly. Of all accursed things to say to royalty, of all things! "You feathered fiend," Luna sighed. "It seems you must be taught some proper manners." Her shouting didn't help as the bird carried on with its dance and proclamation. A vein was throbbing on her poor princess head. At least Luna didn't use the counterlocked voice, Now she was afraid the whole city would hear her argument with nothing more than a parrot. On the bright side, she pondered, at least he didn't bring in with, "Hey, ugly." The two of them bickered back and forth, Luna trying to correct the bird with the proper manners, and the bird simply ignoring Luna's wishes. It seems that they have reached a negotiation stalemate, with Luna wanting to change, and the parrot not agreeing to her wishes. Much to Luna's chagrin. "In all my years of dignitaries, royals, and diplomats," Luna cursed out loud, "this is by far the hardest diplomat to strike an understanding." None of them were aware of the two tall ponies standing behind them. "What's going on here?" A stallion's voice came from the balcony's entrance. Luna's eyes widened and she turned to the source of the voice. Luna found herself staring back at the two delegates. "Luna Moonbat, Luna Moonbat," the parrot continued again, on its annoying name-calling. Luna looked between the delegates and the parrot, another blush on her face. "Please, I can explain," Luna begged. "This parrot has done nothing but harass me with its foul language, and I've been trying my best to correct it." Both delegates looked at each other, and the parrot, before laughing. To say Luna was puzzled by this was an understatement. However, upon hearing the sound of laughter, the parrot turned towards the sound and immediately perked up. His chanting stopped, and a new word came out of its beak. "Master!" "Master?" Luna equally squawked, but in surprise. "Don't tell me this bird is yours." Without saying a word, Hyakim simply stretched a hoof out to the parrot, and he swooped past Luna to land on his hoof. "Luna," Hyakim introduced. "Meet our parrot, Oasis. And Oasis, meet our guest of honor, Princess Luna of Equestria." "I'm afraid Oasis likes to play practical jokes on every creature who is new to the castle," Amara chuckled. "He has obviously chosen you, Luna, to be his next victim." "Say you're sorry, young man," Hyakim said calmly yet firmly to the parrot, now called Oasis. "Sorry." Luna just looked back and forth between Oasis and the two delegates. Then she chuckled and waved a hoof to them. "There's no need to apologize," laughed Luna. "My beloved sister has a pet phoenix who likes to play pranks as well. There wasn't any harm done." "A phoenix?" Amara raised an eyebrow. "How extraordinary." "Yes, Philomena is her name, and she is also fond of pranks," Luna giggled. She has become a subject to Philomena's pranks before, especially during dreaded feeding time. Philomena once played dead on her whilst Luna didn't know she was a phoenix at the time. "Anyway," Hyakim bowed his head, "we apologize again for Oasis's behaviour." He looked down at the parrot and sternly said, "This prank could have gone badly, you know, pestering a royal member of all ponies. I'm just glad it wasn't a Minotaur dignitary. I'm afraid you won't be getting any crackers for a few days." Oasis's feathers drooped down in disappointment. Luna walked to the parrot and gently petted his head. He cooed and leaned into the petting. "I apologize too, Oasis," Luna smiled. "I may have also gone too far as well, and not seen this as a harmless prank. Hyakim, could you please be lenient towards his punishment?" Hyakim thought long and hard on Luna's request. "Very well. No crackers for today, then." Oasis perked up at that and gave a happy squawk. He hopped onto Luna's back and rubbed his head against Luna's. "You're forgiven, Oasis," Luna giggled. "Now with that settled," Amara interjected, "perhaps shall we make a start on the royal tour and ceremony? We have a lot to cover and discuss before the day's end." "Then please," Luna gestured with a hoof, "lead the way." And so, with Oasis still on Luna's back, the three ponies made their way to the bedroom doors to begin the tour of the castle. The next day was when the real diplomacy begins. Okay, this is a fun one. Luna getting an argument with a parrot. I can see it. And parrots are pretty smart, so I can see them pulling pranks. Not just in a cartoon. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. That was Parrot Politics, written by Quoterfic. Hope you all enjoyed! and a howling thank you to my Patreons.